You think a manhunt ends when the trail goes cold. It doesn't. A manhunt ends when the file closes. And here's what nobody tells you about the United States Marshals Service, the oldest federal law enforcement agency in America, created in 1789, older than the FBI by more than a century. The file does not close. On September 30th, 1959, a 23-year-old man was reported missing from a prison honor camp near Sandusky, Ohio. No tunnel, no dogs, no spotlight. He simply walked. And for the next 56 years, the machine that hunts fugitives for the United States government kept one piece of paper alive, through 11 presidencies, through the invention of the computer database, through the retirement of almost everyone who ever touched the case. This is the story of the longest capture in the history of the Marshal Service, built on the documented case of Frank Freshwaters, the man reporters would later call the Shawshank Fugitive. And it will show you the machine from both sides, from inside the system that never stopped looking, and from inside the life of the man who was certain it had. Because that is the real lesson of a Marshals Manhunt. You already know the machine has no reverse gear. This file proves something worse. The machine has no clock. Level 1. The warrant. Before the machine can hunt you, it needs exactly one document, so watch closely how this one gets made, because none of the people signing it believe they are starting a 56-year manhunt. Akron, Ohio, July 3, 1957. A 21-year-old is speeding down a city street when his car strikes and kills a pedestrian. The victim is Eugene Flint, 24 years old, an Army veteran, married, father of 3. The driver pleads guilty to manslaughter, and the court hands down a sentence of 1 to 20 years in prison. Then it suspends that sentence. 5 years of probation instead. The machine stamps the file and moves on. And then he does the one thing the paperwork forbids. He gets a driver's license. Understand, that is not a crime. In any other life it is an errand. But probation is a contract with the machine, and this contract said no driving. So in February 1959, at 22 years old, he is sent to serve the original term at the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, the Gothic fortress Hollywood would later use to film The Shawshank Redemption. Sit with what has just happened, because this is how the machine keeps its books. The state of Ohio did not send a man toward 20 years for killing Eugene Flint. The death earned probation. The paperwork violation earned the fortress. Inside, he is no trouble at all. He earns the trust of the prison staff, and trust in the system is a currency, so it buys him a transfer to a minimum security honor camp near Sandusky. Low fences, work details, the reward for being manageable, and understand what an honor camp actually is, because it is not a weaker prison. It is a bet. The state wagers that a man this cooperative no longer needs walls, and in exchange it saves the cost of guarding him like a threat. Most of the time the state wins that bet. 7 months into the sentence, the machine is confident it knows exactly where he is. The escape warrant that will outlive almost everyone in this story does not exist yet. It is September 29th, 1959. Tomorrow it will. Level 2. The walk. Now the file is yours. You are 23 years old, and on September 30th, 1959, the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction reports you missing from the honor camp. You did not cut a fence. You did not crawl through a tunnel like the movie they will one day film in your old cell block. You walked off a work farm and kept walking. And notice the trade you have just made, because you will be paying it off for the rest of your life. 7 months into the sentence, you might have served a few years and walked out the front gate as a free man with your own name. Instead, you chose the back gate, and the back gate has a price the machine never posts. It costs you your name forever, and it starts a clock that only the machine can stop. And here is what you cannot possibly know yet. You have picked the perfect decade to disappear. In 1959, there is no national crime computer. Number camera on the highway. Number terminal in the squad car. Your warrant is paper in a drawer in Ohio, and paper does not travel. You cross a state line, and you become, functionally, a rumor. So you build the life the sentence interrupted. You become a truck driver, the most American form of invisibility there is, paid to be a stranger in every town. You take a new name, William Harold Cox, and you wear it so long it stops feeling like a lie. There is a wife, in time. There are children. There are paychecks and tax stubs and a license with the wrong name and your real face. Every quiet year teaches you the same lesson. Nobody is coming. And every quiet year, the lesson is true. No deputy walks the terminals showing your picture. No poster with your face hangs in a post office. The men who processed your escape retire, one by one, and their replacements never hear your name. That is the cruelest thing about the machine you are running from. It does not send you a signal that it is still looking, because it is not looking the way you imagine looking. It is not flipping through photographs in a smoky office. It is doing something far cheaper and far more patient. Nobody coming is not the same as nobody waiting. Level 3. The database. In 1967, 8 years after the walk, the machine grows a memory. The FBI switches on the National Crime Information Center, NCIC, a computerized index of warrants and wanted persons that turns every police radio in America into a question aimed at a single database. And buried in the operating rules of that system is one line of doctrine that decides this entire story. Wanted person records have an unlimited retention period. A stolen car record ages out of the system. A wanted person record does not. It stays on file indefinitely, until the person is caught, or a court pulls the warrant, or the record is formally cleared. Nobody has to remember you. Remembering is now automatic. So the warrant typed in 1959 is fed forward into the new machine, and the new machine scales in a way no squad of deputies ever could. By 2016, NCIC will handle nearly 18 million inquiries in a single day. Every traffic stop is a query. Every booking desk is a query. Every border crossing, every background check, every officer typing a name into a terminal at 2 in the morning. And the system is built to act on what it finds. When a record hits, the rules require the agency that entered it to confirm the warrant around the clock, so that a match in Florida can be verified against a drawer in Ohio at any hour of any day of any year. The country itself becomes a tripwire, and the file does not hunt you across it. The file simply waits for you to touch it. And this is where the marshals matter, because they are built differently from every other hunter in the system. Police work crimes. The FBI works cases. The marshals work the gap between a court's order and a person's body, and they have done it since 1789. 58 fugitive task forces across 94 judicial districts, the same apparatus you met in the FBI file, clearing hundreds of arrests every working day. But speed is only one of their settings. The other one is patience. Their old saying, the one a U.S. Marshal will quote to reporters when the story finally ends, is 5 words long. Let no guilty man escape. Not this year, not this decade, no expiration written anywhere in the sentence. Level 4. The other name. 16 years into the second life, you touch the tripwire. It is 1975, and you are living in West Virginia when the outstanding Ohio warrant finally catches up with you and you are taken into custody. The machine has you. The fingerprints match, the old file surfaces. Ohio asks for you back. 16 years of careful invisibility, gone in one arrest. And then something happens that is not supposed to happen. The governor of West Virginia looks at your record in his state. 16 years of steady work and not a single arrest. What the case accounts describe as a flawless 16-year residency. And he refuses to extradite you. Ohio wants you. West Virginia says no. And you walk out of custody a free man with an active warrant, which is a sentence that should not be possible to write. Now stop, because this is the moment almost everyone misreads, and you will spend 40 years misreading it too. You believe the system weighed your case and let it go. That is not what happened. A governor made a human decision, and the machine does not run on human decisions. The warrant never came off the file. The NCIC record never aged out, because it cannot. Forgiveness is not a field in the database. So while you move again, quietly, south this time, the record rides along beside you at the speed of electricity, costing the machine nothing at all to maintain. By the mid-1980s, you are in Brevard County, Florida, in a weathered trailer outside Melbourne, screened by palmettos, with very few neighbors, which investigators will later note is a fine place to be if you do not want anyone to know you are there. You retire from trucking. Your wife dies, and you grow old as a widower with a white beard, a ponytail, and glasses, drawing Social Security under the name Cox, with a valid Florida driver's license, and not so much as a parking problem. And think about what that Social Security check means, because it is the perfect picture of your situation. One arm of the government mails an escaped prisoner a retirement benefit every month, on time, without question. Another arm of the same government holds a live warrant for his arrest. The two arms never speak until the day somebody makes them. You are 79 years old. You have been gone 56 years. You have outlived the century you escaped in. You have not outlived the file. Level 5, the cold case unit. Here is what finally moves. And notice that it is not a lead. It is an org chart. In Cleveland, the marshals for the Northern District of Ohio stand up something new inside their violent fugitive task force. A cold case unit. A team whose entire job is the bottom of the drawer. Not this week's fugitives. The old files. The warrants everyone else has stopped opening. U.S. Marshal Pete Elliott's newly formed unit pulls a case from 1959. There is no tip. Investigators will say so explicitly when it is over. Nobody called. Nobody turned him in. 56 years of good behavior earned him exactly nothing, because the unit was never waiting for him to make a mistake. What the unit has is the method the marshals have trusted since 1789. People. A fugitive can change his name, his state, and his face. He cannot delete the people his life has touched. Every fugitive is a knot in a web of other lives, and the web remembers even when every individual strand believes it has forgotten. So the unit works the connections a man leaves behind across 56 years, the small clues to an identity scattered through other people's lives, and the thread ends in Brevard County, Florida. Now watch how carefully the machine moves when it has waited this long. The Ohio Marshals bring in the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, and deputies put the trailer under surveillance for a week. And they hit a problem that is almost funny. They cannot identify him. The only picture the machine owns is a mugshot of a dark-haired 23-year-old from 1959, and as Major Todd Goodyear of the Sheriff's Office put it, "You look different than you did 50 years ago." A photograph cannot close this file. So the machine builds a ruse. Deputies approach the old man with routine paperwork to sign. Official. Boring. Harmless. He signs. And on those papers he leaves behind the one part of himself that 56 years could not age. His fingerprints. They match the decades-old arrest record. The machine, patient beyond a human lifetime, finally has proof. Level 6. The photograph. May 4th, 2015. You step out of your trailer into the Florida morning, and they are waiting for you. No raid, no battering ram at dawn. Just officers, and a question, and a piece of paper, because this manhunt began with a piece of paper, and the machine has a sense of symmetry. A deputy holds up a photograph, black and white. A young man with short dark hair, staring into a prison camera in 1959. Have you seen this man? And you look at your own face across 56 years, and you give them the truthful answer. You tell them you have not seen that guy in a long time. Sit with that sentence, because it is the most honest thing anyone says in this entire file. The man in that photograph walked off a prison farm when Eisenhower was president. You are a 79-year-old widower with severe arthritis who watches the palmettos and collects a pension. You were not lying. You had not seen him in a long time. And then it is over, in the plainest 3 words the case record contains. You got me. No chase. No struggle. There is nothing left to run with, and there is nowhere left to run to. The last time the machine held you, in 1975, a governor stood between you and Ohio, and the door opened. There are no governors in this parking lot. There is a warrant with unlimited retention, a fingerprint match, and a task force that answers to a court order, not to anyone's opinion of your 16 good years. The Marshals Service will call this the longest capture in the history of the agency, an agency that has existed since 1789. More than 2 centuries of hunting human beings, and you are the one who ran longest. Level 7. The ledger and what it costs. Now the machine has to answer the one question it never asks itself. What was all of this for? Back in Ohio, the Erie County prosecutor, Kevin Baxter, declines to file new escape charges. The original sentence, up to 20 years, already allows what he calls sufficient penalty. There is a closed parole hearing that August. And then, in February 2016, the full parole board meets in Columbus, and the ledger of this manhunt is read out loud. On one side of it, Eugene Flint, 24 years old, an Army veteran, a husband and a father of 3, killed on an Akron street on July 3, 1957. One of his sons stands with prosecutors and argues against release. And the Summit County prosecutor tells the press that this man has spent nearly 60 years avoiding responsibility for what happened. That side of the ledger never got a second life, and no database was required to keep its loss on file. On the other side, more than 2,000 letters of support, mailed to the parole board from half a dozen states. A family friend who tells the board he has become like family. An attorney who says his client lived a clean life and never forgot the accident. And one of the fugitive's own sons, born in the months after the crash, saying he hopes to finally get to know his father. The board grants parole. He is cleared for release the week after his 80th birthday, with 5 years of supervision attached. Less than 1 year back inside. For the 7 months he served. For the 56 years he ran. Now do the machine's math, because the machine will not do it for you. The manhunt worked. Every part of the doctrine held. The warrant never expired, because warrants do not. The database never forgot, because it is not built to. The cold case unit closed a drawer that had been open since Eisenhower, and the longest capture in the history of the country's oldest law enforcement agency went into the record books. And what all of that patience bought at the very end was less than 1 final year of an old man's life behind a fence. 2 clocks ran through this entire story. The human clock aged everyone in the file. It buried Eugene Flint's generation. It retired the guards at the honor camp. It turned a dark-haired young man into a stranger to his own mugshot. The machine's clock did none of that. It did not age a single day between 1959 and 2015, because a record with unlimited retention is always exactly as young as the moment it was typed. When those 2 clocks finally met in a Florida parking lot, only one of them had run out. That is not a failure of the machine. That is the machine functioning exactly as designed. Because the mandate was never justice, and it was never mercy. Those belong to courts and boards and governors. The humans who kept softening this story at every level, with probation, with refused extraditions, with parole. The machine's mandate is 5 words. Let no guilty man escape. It does not weigh your remorse. It does not count your good years. It keeps the file open. It keeps the record live, and it delivers a body to a courtroom in 73 minutes like the FBI's record, or in 56 years like this one. It genuinely does not care which. You can outrun a deputy. You can outlast a governor. You can outlive your own photograph. But the file has unlimited retention. And you do not. That's the machine.